Africa?
Hi, well, I'm Kat Swift.
As if I didn't know.
I was focusing on love and money in Jane Austen's Persuasion, and whilst doing my research for this question, I stumbled across some biographical facts that I really wanted to include in this presentation, as they're things that really I personally felt really touched by, and hopefully that will come across in the presentation how it relates to the novel and the role of marriage and relationships in Persuasion itself. Whilst I was doing my research for this question, I did stumble across, again, a really interesting Marxist analysis of Persuasion by Therese Anderson. Here, Therese lays out the Marxist basic point of view, and it then applies to different characters in Persuasion. So if we look at the quote that I have here, there's Marx argued that the real foundation of society was the economic structure, that political and legal superstructures rose from this base, and that it is not the consciousness of men which determines their existence, it's on the contrary their social existence which determines their consciousness. From this quote, I inferred that when reading novels from the 19th century, you should always put them into context, and then from there you can decipher how the social relations worked. So with more of the importance on like class and money, etiquette, reputation for family and those sort of things, when looking at relationships between men and women, for example, you have to take all these things into consideration, and you should see it less of like a constraint but more of a way of life at the time. That's the thing that I took from this quote when viewing the relationship between Anne Elliot and Captain Wentworth. Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's made clear from the beginning of the novel the clear emphasis on monetary value. I've taken these quotes from the beginning of the novel when it talks about the introduction to Sir Walter Elliot. It says like history of the children of very inferior value, and it talks about how Mary has contact with the family with a large fortune, and talks about her honour as well. If you look at the diction that Austen has used here, this is diction that she uses throughout the whole novel when describing people within the book. As you know from reading the book, Lady Russell persuades Anne Elliot not to be engaged to Captain Wentworth because of his less monetary value and what he can give to her, and so he's not an appropriate suitor. I think that the fact that she was persuaded alludes to the title of the book itself, and how sometimes I felt that it wasn't necessarily a personal decision for Anne. It was more like the things that were placed upon her at the time. I thought that was really interesting to think that the persuasion itself actually has a big impact on the book, and I think that's very much overlooked when looking at all the other themes. So I want to pick up on that word there. And success again, when we're thinking of like careers and things, even today, like we're still pushed for success, and the fact that at the time this was one of the things that attributed to it as well. So this is a quote that kind of sums up why Anne didn't choose Captain Wentworth at the beginning of the book. It says, Anne Elliot, with all her claims of birth, beauty and mind, to throw herself away at 19, involve herself at 19 with a young man who had nothing but himself to recommend him and no hopes of attaining affluence, but in the chances of a most uncertain profession and no connections to secure even his farther rise in that profession, would be indeed a throwing away which she grieved to think of. Again, it very much represents class as well, with her claims of birth, which alludes to her like family inheritance as well, is kind of saying that divide in them means that they can't be together. But then again, like I said before, she is only 19 and she's very impressionable, so it's the question of was it whether the status at the time, or was it more Lady Russell's pushing onto her that made her Captain Wentworth at the beginning. This is an interesting one because this is the biographical facts I found out about Jane Austen whilst I was researching this, and Persuasion is one of the novels that's most closely reflective of her life. As we all know, she moved to Bath in the 19th century with her family, and they spent every summer at Lyme Regis. It's been said that Jane did meet a young man when she was at the seaside with her family holidays who supposedly fell in love with her. They parted their ways and she never saw him again. They said he was going to come back and meet her, but she heard of his death, and so her love was never requited for him. It's also interesting to note that Jane was 27 at the time that she met this man, which is the same age as Anne Elliot in Persuasion herself. And also, I think a couple of the chapters as well are set at Lyme Regis, which I thought that was a really interesting fact. So it's I thought that Jane wrote this is represented in this very sentimental quote of Lyme Regis. So a very strange stranger it must be, who does not see the charms in the immediate environs of Lyme to make him wish to know it better. I thought that was really sentimental. And also, there's another quote here which says, "She had died the preceding summer while he was at sea. Captain Wentworth believed it impossible for man to be more attached to woman than poor Benwick had been to Fanny Harville." Again, this idea of the loss of romance here at Lyme Regis, I think therefore may be representative of Jane's life as well, maybe just symbolically but through different characters. In a letter that Jane wrote to her niece, Fanny Knight, in 1814, she is giving her niece advice about suitors for marriage. But she said herself, anything is to be preferred or endured rather than marrying without affection. This is key to understanding Persuasion, I think, because Persuasion was one of the first novels that Jane wrote where the protagonists were marrying for love rather than any other reason, and that's a big thing that you can see in Persuasion. And Jane herself agreed to marry a man called Harris Bigwither in 1802, but then she regretted it the next day because she didn't love him, and I think that really says a lot for Jane to do that at the time. So again, I think it's affection shown between the relationship between Anne and Captain Wentworth. It says, half the sum of attraction on either side might have been enough. They were gradually acquainted, and when acquainted, rapidly and deeply in love. This is a quote from absolutely the start of the novel, which makes it even more harder for the reader to continue knowing that they haven't been together for 7 years. Excuse me, where I was going. But I really liked that quote because it was just I thought it was really pure and very honest. This is from the letter that Captain Wentworth writes to Anne. This is after 7 long years of waiting for her. And this is here, I think Jane Austen really shows her passionate writing here. It says to him, "You pierce my soul, I am half agony, half hope. And could I have read your feelings as I think you must have penetrated mine?" I just really thought that was real love that was projected in the novel. When they reunited at the end of the novel, I picked up on the fact that this security quote here, there they exchanged again those feelings and those promises which had once before seemed to secure everything. It's good to note that the security here comes from their emotions from each other and not from any financial backing for it. If I was wrong in yielding to Persuasion once, remember that it was persuasion exerted on the side of safety, not of risk. Again, Anne here confesses to Lady Russell, persuading her not to be engaged to him at the beginning of the novel, which ties it back into the title itself. One interesting fact at the end is that Captain Wentworth does mention his increasing fortune when he praises Anne again. But personally, I think that that's because, again, of the nature of the time, as we said with the Marxist analysis at the beginning, that when couples were getting together, you had to think about these things to plan for your future. But I don't think that this relationship was formed on the basis of the economy at all. I think it was genuine for love that they had between them. I think that's really reflected through the course of the novel and is the purpose of the novel itself. Yeah, that's what I've got.
That's it? Okay, thank you very much.
And I have my bibliography at the back.
Okay, let me just have a little look at that. Okay, thank you very much. Still not entirely clear about how Marxism relates to. I thought you started off that really well with the emphasis, with the linguistic emphasis. But you've also made the point, and that's what I'm asking about here. You've also made the point that this was true for everybody. Yes, that in fact Wentworth's question right at the end, saying would it have made a difference? Surely that would have applied to everyone. This isn't purely related to that novel. A Marxist analysis of Jane Austen's Persuasion. I mean, surely that applies in all her novels, doesn't it? That money, that's the position of women, that they have an economic role, they are property.
I think it does, but I think at the same time that Anne didn't choose him just because of that. In a sense, I don't think that you would be cut off of someone from someone else's influence and then decide to marry them 7 years later just because of their money. I think that it was much more of a deeper thing.
Okay, all right, yeah. You didn't use What is a Woman to do that? You couldn't find any references there that would have been useful?
Oh no, sorry, I completely forgot. And then I looked on the handbook or the module and it said you could use another.
Oh yeah. No, that's fine. I just wondered whether you'd no, you could certainly use other secondary texts.